Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is Anglo-Irish husband and wife folk duo, Jeremy and Lorraine Millington, aka The Portraits. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you, Alex?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're very, very well. It's 9 o'clock in the evening here in England. How are you? And what time are you?
I'm at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I
try
try
to-
miserable here. We've got lots of wind, and we really feel that today all the leaves have fallen off the trees.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you were here, you'd get to watch the snow falling, blowing, and freezing.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel better now about your weather?
I'm not sure. If your sun is shining, I think I could cope with this.
No, very, very dreary, and it's starting to get
Oh, no.
colder. Yeah, no, it's yucky. Anyway, let's talk about you guys. Now, you hail from the UK and Ireland, respectively. I'm going to try to guess. I'm going to say, Lorraine, you're the Irish one.
I am, correct.
I'm Scottish, and I have the green eyes, red hair, and
Oh, there you go.
freckles.
That's
Celtic
mandatory.
Now, you guys have brought your upbeat songs about the world everywhere and to North America. Now, where were you in May and June of 2017?
It's funny you should ask that because, do you know, just 2 minutes ago we had a little bit of a reminiscence and we even printed out a map that we could have in front of us because, I'll tell you, Ali, we had such an amazing time.
It was
And
amazing.
it was our first time in North America, and boy, we were just so well looked after. Where weren't we? I mean, to be honest, where weren't we? We weren't on the West Coast. That's pretty much it. We did a trip down we started in Canada, actually, and we were hosted by Lorraine's beautiful family over in Canada. And so we did a little round trip of Toronto, Sudbury, and Sault Ste. Marie. And then we came down via Michigan. And we discovered Detroit. We discovered, what else?
Went down to Indianapolis
Yeah.
with my wonderful cousin who said, I can actually be your driver and you can be my therapy. and so we drove all the way down Indianapolis, Nashville, Memphis, over to Raleigh, Charlotte, up to Galax, West Virginia, onto Washington, right up to Cape Cod via New Haven to Boston.
It was a true, and then we flew out of New York.
And then New York.
And it was a true road trip of a lifetime.
It was
just
super, with our
gorgeous.
2 children in tow and her 1 kid in tow.
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot of amazing places you stopped at. Now, Indianapolis, I got a kind of a glimpse of that. My granddaughter played football there last weekend. They do across the border. So she was there, which was really cool. I haven't gone to the States since I was 11. I finally have my passport, so I'm going to. But I also want to go to the UK, so I'm hoping to get all of that in there. Next time you come to Winnipeg. Then yes.
I've heard lovely things about Winnipeg, and we would love to do that.
Yeah, just
absolutely.
Yeah.
come
We
in
want
the
to go
summer.
back. We want to discover much more. You know, I said definitely we'd like to do this time the West Coast. We did the East Coast. We'd like to do the West Coast, and we've heard, North Carolina have got absolutely beautiful beaches, and we'd love to discover that. It's such a huge country.
Oh yeah, it's just crazy.
Our kids didn't forgive us for not taking them to California and
San
Hollywood.
Francisco.
Disneyland, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the West Coast of Canada, if you ever do come, I mean, Winnipeg is, come in the summer if you come to Winnipeg. Please don't come in the winter. But make sure you get to British Columbia and make sure you get to their island, Nanaimo.
Yeah.
Well, it's called Vancouver Island. It's beautiful, and the beaches there are amazing. So make sure you get there as well. But I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that one day you will come to Winnipeg, and I will get to see you. Now, you released your 10-song album at that time, Global Heartbeat. And one of the songs, which, well, I'll just say we're going to be playing it, is absolutely beautiful and encompasses, I think, what a lot of us feel now across the world. And it's the song Nobody Can Ever Murder Love. And it's basically a call for unity, right?
That's right, absolutely.
We had a terrible event that happened in the UK last year that I think made world news, which was the murder of one of our politicians basically in the street, in a tiny northern English town in a part of the world you really would not expect anything like that to ever happen in a million years, in broad daylight. And not just any politician, again, any politician is bad, but this lady was a young woman who was a mother,
Young mother.
and had the whole of her future ahead of her, two young
children.
And quite even above all of that, she was somebody that had dedicated her life to kind of fighting hatred, fighting division, and was just murdered by somebody that was ill, sick in the head, in the middle of the street, and didn't believe in her call for freedom. And so we were immediately inspired the very day that this terrible news came out. We were so personally gutted by it. Taking politics out of it, I was just walking around London at the time where I was, and I was just walking around feeling so kind of out of it. How could this happen? And I sent some lyrics that were just swimming around in my head, and it was kind of the idea behind the lyrics was, it was kind of defiance against this. No, you cannot do this. You can do terrible things to us and steal our loved ones, but you can't murder love. Love will always endure, and I sent this to Lorraine, and Lorraine immediately.
I was with the children, and I was feeding them, and I just said, I'm just popping into the next room, just took out my guitar straight away and recorded what I had actually using Jeremy's words. Just it was like a melody just flowed out. I didn't even think about it. I had it in 5 minutes and sent it back to Jeremy and said as a sound file, and I said, what do you think about this? And he said, absolutely, you've nailed it. Now we need to record this and we need to get this out there. And I think actually it was so well received. The BBC actually invited us in to perform live that song. So yeah, and as I said, it was just a time where we were about to go over to France, and that terrible event on the 14th of July happened in Nice, where so many people were killed, and we thought, well, let's just make this into, because we were doing lots of concerts at that time over in France, and so in unity of like we can fight against this, and nobody can ever murder love. We actually translated the song into French and sang it, and so many people you could just see were so moved. I mean, at that point, I think we couldn't even look at the audience because most of them were crying.
But as you say, Ali, it's one of these times in history where people just feel this throughout the world, and we do need to unify big time. At the moment.
do.
And that, yeah.
I've always said, and I've said on my show, I think they should start turning off news and piping in music. And I don't know. I mean, I can't start a movement. I mean, what am I going to do? But I would love to start like the peace movements they had in the 60s and the 70s, because it needs to stop somewhere. And I don't know. I mean, we're all baffled at stuff that happens and we just can't comprehend it. And it's happening everywhere. And the people that it's happening to are I don't know. I'm not going to get into it because I could go on and on, because
no, absolutely. And I think we all feel the same. And one thing we did do while we were in America is we tried 100% to avoid politics.
Yeah, so do I.
Around the table.
Yeah.
About politics, because as you say, you could just talk about nothing else, and we have to just move on, and in our way, we're creators, and it's the way we actually express ourselves, and then it's up to anybody else to interpret that song as they want to.
Yeah, well, I interpret it the way you guys have completely done it, and I'm serious. We should be playing this everywhere, because you can't murder love. And I mean, I'm not gonna get into Trump and all of that, because it's just a waste of time. And I mean, it is. It's just like we're perpetuating it constantly because we're talking about it, and it's just like we're breeding more violence, and it needs to stop. That's why I think people need to turn off the TV and turn on the radio.
Yes. Turn off Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Everywhere. It's just awful. And I mean, it's scary. You have 2 children. I have 2 grandchildren. And it's just, what kind of world are we bringing them up in? It's very unsettling. Now, you were talking about BBC Radio. You were on BBC Radio 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, also, Europe's biggest music festival, Glastonbury Festival, in the southwest of England in 2016. Now, that must have been exciting.
It was fabulous. It's such a big, I mean, it really is crazy. It's like what it is, for those that don't know, Glastonbury is this thing that pops up in the middle of a field in literally the middle of the quietest part of the UK, down in the southwest, not far from where we are now living, actually.
Ironically, we just moved to 5 miles away from
From where
Glastonbury.
Glastonbury is. So, and when we go around where we live now, you really are going through fields after fields after fields. But every June, every single year for the last 40 years, bar a couple here and there, where they needed to let the land settle back down again and give the cows a chance to do their thing. This pop-up city turns up, and 300,000 people just fill this field, and it is the most incredible thing, and it goes on for miles and miles and miles.
Really, I think everybody, if they can, needs to do Glastonbury once.
Yeah.
So it supports, what we love about Glastonbury as well is it supports an awful lot of good causes, good, helping the planet. And what I said about the cows a minute ago, I said slightly tongue-in-cheek, because they do take a great deal of care with the farm itself that they use, and it's several farms actually, to make sure it's restored to its proper state. I know, Ali, you care an awful lot about animals from what we've read about, about
Yes.
and they are, the planet and the people and the animals are very, very much, foremost in the minds of those that plan the thing.
That is awesome. I want to go. I've heard so much about it. I want to go one year.
And what you see on telly, they only broadcast the kind of young events and the young, certain stages. But you must multiply this by probably 50, and also the age range. It's totally from old people to young people. It is just such a mix, and it's the most loving, joyful, hippie, gorgeous atmosphere. It's incredible, because everything is sourced by local people also, and they make everything from healing fields to Green Futures is all about recycling, the environment, how we need to look after the planet.
So it's kind of educational as well.
Everything. It is totally.
But it's great fun.
Water saving, Britain Burma Society is involved in it. So there's all sorts of kind of like fundraising, awareness. It's beautiful. It's a lovely festival.
Oh my God. Yeah, I so want to go. And it's kind of like a revival of Woodstock, except kind of different. Because now we're talking about, we're talking about all the good things about saving our environment, not back in the 60s when they didn't know that we needed to save our environment. Now, let's talk about, you guys have been doing this for a while. I love the fact that you're married. And that you get to kind of, bounce ideas off one another at any time. You don't have to wait for that phone call or whatever. Your guys are always together. Now, because you've been doing this for a while and you are a husband and wife duo, I'm sure you have a lot more different advice. But what kind of advice would you give new artists starting out in this industry? And it's a crazy industry, as we all know.
It's certainly a crazy industry.
I think I would say, please do not try to follow others, but follow your own, roots. Just don't try to be anybody else but yourself, and that will come through and that will shine. That's what I would actually say.
I guess we've been working together long enough that that was exactly what I was thinking of. But I would say one more thing on top of that, which is that, as Lorraine says, you must stay true to yourself and you must do what's in your heart, but you must also be really strong and very persistent and just never give up. If you really believe and you've got something to say, and I think having something to say is very important as well. If you're one of these writers that's struggling for inspiration, my word, as we've already said, there's so much out there. Just look around the world and see. And just, talk about something that really matters and believe in it, and then just never give up. Keep going.
Learn your craft well. I think it's very important to learn your craft well. And, nothing is going to happen quickly. You have to be patient. And as I said, if you know and you're confident, and you gain confidence by just getting out there and doing it, and don't let anybody bring you down. keep at it.
I think it's slightly unfortunate that we live in the age of America's Got Talent and our equivalent over here, X Factor, and these TV shows where kids, including our own too, I have to say, think that they can have instant success and fame.
Yeah.
And of course, it's important to realize that most of the time it doesn't happen like that. But it's actually far more satisfying in the long run if you just stay at it, and say at the end, I did it by myself. I did it.
Definitely. I mean, I love The Voice, basically because they go by just The Voice. But I've interviewed people that have won it, and I got kind of a behind the scenes look. And I mean, I knew it was a reality show anyway, but even people that have won The Voice don't go on to be mega stars. Yep. So no matter what kind of help these shows are giving people, it, inevitably it doesn't, it's up to the person, not the show that kind of launched them. Now that is great advice. And you touched on something that a lot of people get told no a lot. I mean, I am not a singer, but I get told no constantly. And you have to learn to roll with the punches. And like you said, if this is your dream, this is your passion, you got to keep doing it because this is what you were born to do. And I must say, Lorraine, talking to you is like talking to my sister-in-law. She is from Ireland and like talks Gaelic. And I mean, you have the same accent and it's so bizarre.
Well, actually, one of my best friends in London, Elizabeth, is originally from America. And you sound exactly like her.
That's so funny. And that's funny because people in the States say I have an accent because I'm from Canada. And I'm like, no, you have an accent. And I never realized, oh, wait, maybe I do have an accent. It's weird. Oh,
my best friend.
That is too funny. I want to thank you guys. I know you guys are pressed for time and it is late there and you've got 2 kids to get up in the morning.
Well, actually, I have to say I've got my mum and dad from Ireland with me. So we're about to now go and have a little drink together and they're going back home tomorrow. So I said I won't be too long.
Definitely not. No, definitely not. What 2 songs are we going to hear from you guys?
Well,
we already talked about one.
Yes. Obviously, thank you very much for playing the songs, and Nobody Can Ever Murder Love that we've already talked about, which is the bilingual version, the version that we mentioned in English and French. And the other song is Good Things, and it's the first song on our new album, and it was inspired by a trip to Burma, Myanmar, which has been in the news an awful lot in the last few months. It's a place that we adore, but has been through a huge sort of turbulent period of its own, and we wrote the song watching their sort of gradual move towards democracy there, and it's a democracy that's far from perfect, but it's way better than what they had 5-10 years ago, and they've got huge issues to deal with now. They've got issues relating to there's a lot of unhappiness to do with different cultures colliding, and they really have to learn to find how to run their freedom because they've never had such freedom before. So Good Things is a little bit about that, really. It's about a country like Burma that comes out of the darkness with a sort of Mandela figure at its helm, Aung San Suu Kyi, who really has a very difficult juggling act to do and is experiencing a lot of criticism at the moment for the way she's handling it. But I suppose it's a hopeful song that she will find a way for herself and for the people of Burma.
Wow, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Okay, so you can buy your songs online. Also, your website, which is theportraitsmusic.com. It will be linked on my website to your website. So people can click on it and go find out all kinds of stuff about you and listen to more of your music. All of your music is beautiful. I mean, it's just just beautiful. I can't even put into words. When I first heard you, I was like, oh my God, I need them on my show. I want them on my... So I want to say thank you so much for coming on. I am going to let you go and enjoy your parents, Lorraine, because I know you only get little times when you get older. So tell them I said hello.
I will. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This time because it really means a great deal. Thank you very, very much.
It does. And when you come to Glastonbury, then you call in and have a cup of tea. Actually, we hope to be in Glastonbury while you're there.
That would be awesome. I mean, I've been getting all these invitations to come to the UK, and you don't have to pay, you don't have to stay anywhere, you can come stay with me. I'm like, hey, I'm going. So yeah,
that's it. You take it up.
Gotta do it.
I'll try to make sure it's in that time period. Thank you again so much, you guys, and please don't ever stop what you're doing. And this isn't a one-shot deal. Anything new happens, or any new singles, get a hold of me, and I'll put you back on, or I'll throw your singles up. And I wish you the best.
Thank you
my
very,
darling.
very much. It's lovely
You've
to
been
talk to
lovely.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you
Just
for
keep
joining.
warm.
Yes, I will. Thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic. Keep checking my website, because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in my attic. Cheers.